His march now soared into an eagle's flight. This is about the rapid spiritual progress Ashwapati has made in his very early stage itself. The spiritual progress, flying with the wings of the eagle and reaching the high blue skies. Ashwapati himself is here as one coming straight from the transcendent. He comes here to bring down the divine consciousness force here, to bring down the divine Savitri here upon the earth. He carries in his soul the desire of the world to the Supreme and makes an appeal to the Supreme to send Savitri, the divine Savitri, on the earth, because without her, the real progress of the earth is not possible. The intended manifestation in this world may not take place. He compels her mortal birth, Savitri's mortal birth. But Ashwapati himself is the spirit that has stooped down from the higher spheres. From the higher spheres, he himself has come down here. His birth holds a symbol and a sign. His birth holds a symbol of the transformation which can take place here. His birth is a sign assuring that things will definitely happen. It is a promise of the fulfillment of the future. Ashwapati's birth is a promise of the fulfillment of the future. He comes here as eternity's delegate. He comes here with all the powers of the eternity necessary for the avataric work which he has to do here. He limits in this birth his eternity in these small hours. He limits his movements into the movements of time, of small hours. He consents to take upon himself the load of mortal ignorance. He accepts the human conditions, the human limitations, the human suffering, pain, anguish. He carries on his yoke the yoke on his shoulders, on his neck, the yoke of ignorance and death. It is through this human birth he has to approach the divine consciousness force, the supreme divine consciousness force, and bring her here down. Ashwapati's birth here is a direct action of the Supreme, direct action of the Supreme in the shaping of the future of the earth, direct action from the Supreme. It is through this human birth of his that things had to happen. Therefore, He accepts all the human conditions, and because he accepts the human conditions of ignorance, of putting on the veil of nations around his soul, he has to tear it off and discover his true, original, veilless personality. He has to, therefore, for that purpose, he offered yogic tapasya. He has to set himself on the offered yogic path to approach the divine consciousness force, to compel her mortal birth, that the way for the earth's progress is opened out. He comes here to clear the way for her arrival. Not only does he compel her, but he also compels her mortal birth. He clears the way for her arrival. He prepares the necessary ground here upon earth so that she would be able to carry on her work on the support, on that ground, on that base, on that adhara. His soul, therefore, must break out to join the oversoul. His soul must break out to join the oversoul. His life, the human life he has accepted, that motion, that must ocean into super life. It must expand and flow like an ocean into the super life, the life which he has accepted here to live. He must soar above the mortal skies. In order that that happens, he must become first a seer. The seer in him, the divine seer in him, must be born. When the divine seer is born in him, then he can move first. He can move on the mission job he has undertaken here to carry out. In that process, as a human birth he has taken, the first realizations which he has are themselves tremendous realizations. At once he has got the experience of static oneness, one Atman filling the entire creation in a static form. Oneness, static oneness everywhere, trees, mountains, creatures, animals, birds, men, everywhere he sees a oneness, a static oneness. The identity of this creation with the One, that is what he realizes to begin with. Then also, it is not just a static picture, a still, that is going to satisfy him. What is required also is the dynamic aspect of this creation. The dynamic aspect of the creation in this moment in time, that also must be realized by him. Therefore, along with static oneness, he has got the realization of the dynamic power, the supreme power operating in this creation here. With that, the seal of the integral Godhead is put on his pursuit. The seal of integral Godhead is now there on his pursuit, on his task. The stamp is there of integral Godhead, integrality of static oneness and the dynamic power, they fusing into each other in the process of this creation. and therefore all his inhibitions about the possibility of spirit expressing itself in the material world, they all disappear. He has no inhibitions now. Yes, surely this will definitely happen. All the apprehensions had disappeared. The finite, therefore, meets the infinite. The finite meets in him with the infinite. Both of them fuse and become one. And in that process, his mass soars into an eagle's flight. His soul is released from the lower bondage. His spirit has complete freedom from the operations of nature, of the lower nature, and he is now free to move anywhere in the cosmic extensions. He sets himself on the cosmic exploration. He sees world after world rising to the Supreme, and those worlds, that hierarchy of those worlds, also within himself, they building up his personality, his individuality. So the cosmic dimension, therefore, also gets established within himself. And in the whole process, what has happened as a part of the early spiritual beginning is his march now has become the flight of an upsoaring eagle.